Neal Skorpen.
Yes, that's me.
It's April 29th. We're at the Stumptown Comic Fest. Fireside Chats. Tell us about Quasi-Matter.
Quasi-Matter. Quasi-Matter showed up in the travels of the Jaffa, the joined aliens fighting against war, the ridiculous mission from my childhood comic strip. In part of their travels, they met their arch nemesis, Anti-Man, a being made of antimatter who lived on a sunspot in an antimatter society.
That sounds really cool. Can I see this online?
No, I don't even know where these are. They're in a box somewhere, probably in my parents' house.
Oh, so I
or
interrupted.
in my attic, I don't know. But in a Quasi-Matter was developed by these antimatter people so they could have contact with the matter universe.
Yeah.
So you create a bubble of Quasi-Matter and someone can be in it, so the matter and antimatter don't have to touch and thus annihilate each other.
Okay, does this have anything to do with your development of the idea that nothing is true?
I don't think so. I suppose it could be.
So nothing is true? Nothing is real? How would you put it?
I would say nothing can be known with I don't know. It sounds ridiculous when I say it out loud.
I think a lot of people feel that way.
Nothing can be known with
Nothing can be proven?
I mean, we can... That sounds stupid. There are things we can count on for all practical purposes, and things that can be proven to the extent that is useful in life. But at the same time, I think you should just sort of question what you see on a regular basis.
Okay, if nothing is true, is it wrong for me to bonk you in the head?
Yes.
Why?
It's wrong.
Because nothing. It's not. How do you even know that really happened?
Okay, so here's the thing. All right, here's how it is. Nothing is true. Nothing can be known with absolute certainty. At the same time, some things are true and some things can be known with absolute certainty.
Oh, wait a minute. This is controversial.
It's a contradiction.
Okay.
So the thing is, there are contradictory truths that exist simultaneously.
Tell me more.
Are you familiar with the, what's it called?
Like hot and cold? Is that a contradictory? Or are you talking about like a cone, Buddhist cone?
I'm talking about, Buddhist koan could be one example, yes. There's a paradox, well-known paradox and it's called like the paradox of the instructor or something. I can't remember what it's called. But the idea is, you have a professor in a classroom and he writes on a chalkboard. Geez, I can't remember. I have to look it up. Like he writes on a chalkboard, gravity pulls upward, for example. Then he goes into another classroom. I can't remember. I have to look it up.
Cut. That's all right.
Anyway, there's some kind of setup where you have a statement in one room and you go into the other room and you make a statement about that room regarding the truth of statements inside that room. And so you get two statements that are true that contradict each other. So that's kind of a model made entirely of logic where two things that are true that contradict each other exist simultaneously.
I'd really like to hear an example.
Well,
that may not be possible.
See, I don't know if I can come up with an example, but that's how I have to view life, because when you ask me something like, is nothing true, my first impulse is to say, of course nothing's true, because we only have our perceptions to go on, and our perceptions can be fooled.
Right.
I learned recently, like, the taste of sweetness is not inherent to anything. It's not inherent to sugar. It's the result of our taste buds processing the chemical composition of sugar and talking to our brains about it in a certain way. We call that sweetness, but it only exists because of the interaction of our perception with the physical world.
So basically, it's like what's the fancy word? Epistemology? How we know what we know?
That's probably it.
And so philosophers have a long time wrangled with the unreliability of the senses. And you remember Descartes went into the wood stove, the unlit stove, as a kind of sensory deprivation environment.
Oh, he did?
To get down to the root of what he could rely on, what was true. And I believe that's how he came up with cognito ergo sum.
Okay.
I think therefore I am. Is it that something you can rely on?
I think
cannot be.
I am.
You think no? Yeah. Can you rely? I mean, that's something that's irreducible. There is no opposite to make doubt of it.
I mean, the only thing I could, the only crack I might find in that is the notion that the individual self, is the individual self what really an individual, or are we all connected on some unseen level? Is all consciousness actually one whole that's expressed as a series of individual beings? And in that case,
is there any evidence for that? Any hint of that?
I don't know. Probably not. But
you can't disprove it. Is that the problem?
I guess. See, now all I'm doing is spouting pseudoscientific nonsense that can be easily used to justify any and every stupid belief, destructive, ridiculous belief, and I don't really have any interest in promoting that kind of thinking.
So where are we now?
So I don't really know what I'm doing here, to be honest.
Why don't you show the audience one of your comics?
Okay. Actually, we should talk about Island of the Moths. That's what we're talking about next. Dun, dun, dun. Island of the Moths.
And it's real, isn't it? You just can't say it.
I can't. Sorry.
So even though you doubt yourself at the end, you still bring yourself.
Even though I have like huge amounts of contempt for the kind of solipsistic philosophical noodling,
the self is the only reality.
I can't refrain from indulging in it myself.
Can I call you Professor Noodle?
Sure. I think I deserve that title.
Well, thank you, Professor, for your time.
You're welcome.
And when I turn this up, I'm going to bonk you in the head, and there's nothing you can do about it because who knows if it really...
There's lots of things I can do about it.
Oh, okay, but he's got a black belt.